Going live. I just tweeted out the link. It's just another manic Monday.
I wish it was Sunday. Wish it was Sunday. Bump, ba bump, ba bump,
All
ba
right,
bump, bump,
let's get
bump.
some people in here.
Derek Billman's already in here. You know he stays watching.
I gotta fix a graphic real quick.
Why you got to fix the graphic?
Had a
The Ben
typo.
one?
No, type a graphic on the thumbnail. It looks like we're gonna fix it though.
We're live on WBRN 103.6 The Brain, 103.5 The Brain, 103.6 The Brain.
Baschamania yesterday said 103.5. I thought it was 103.6. But hey, you know what? We got the people talking. That's what matters. We're providing the commentary. Let me get this fixed typo out.
All right, while you're fixing that typo, I'm gonna go to the Gable game. Or do I need to wait? I need to wait for you. I'm just gonna guess one.
Go.
I'm just gonna guess one. Everybody suggests, I've only done this like 3 times ever, and it was all on this show. Every time I played the Gable game was on this show. I was late to the party on this game. But everybody says to pick a middleweight because then, it's like you split the field 50-50 kind of. Let's go with somebody, let's go to 157-pound qualifier this year that did an AA. Basch, you got any suggestions on a 157-pound qualifier? Let's go Ethan Miller.
So I normally do Kasich, but I've been told I should do different conferences 57 pounders. All right, Ethan Miller. Terrible guess. Terrible. So we know it's a senior out of the Big Ten, higher than 157, so an upper weight.
Lower win percentage. This person did qualify. That's all we know. So wait, it is the Big Ten or is it?
It's not the Big Ten. Gray means it's not.
Gray means it's not.
And it's got to be a senior because it says above junior.
So it's somebody that graduated and above 157 and not Big Ten.
Yep.
Upper weight, senior.
We got to go quicker, though, because we had a few complaints. So just go. We got a rapid fire here.
I don't care about complaints. I don't care what these people think. Can't rush greatness.
All right, let's go with the senior 184-pounder.
Let's go with Keegan.
Outside of the Big Ten. All right, so it is a senior. We got everything else wrong. So let's go up to...
Well, who'd you pick?
I thought you said Keegan O'Toole.
Keegan, okay.
And it's not in the Big Ten, not in the Big 12.
Not in the Big Ten, not in the Big 12. Let's pick somebody from...
So let's do an ACC 84, 97-pound senior.
ACC... Not Trumbull. Give me who's 84?
I don't know. You want me to pull up the PEBs?
No, it's too early to pull up PEBs. I got them right here, but I ain't looking at them yet.
All right, I'm going to go with a 197-pounder outside of the Big 10, outside of the Big 12. I am going to go... Looking.
Ivy? EIWA? Above 174? 84-97 heavyweight. Lowish win percentage. A really low win percentage. Below 82.
Below 82.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going. This is taking too long.
This is taking way too long. PB's Max Stout. He's young, right? Yeah, he's really young.
Yeah, give me Gavin Hoffman.
Gavin Hoffman. Nope, wrong. Not a 285 pounder. Lower than the round of
So
12.
it's 84.74. I
No,
mean,
it's
84.97
it,
guaranteed.
yep. So let's go 90. It's yellow, so that means you're one away. It says down yellow. That means you're one
That's what
off.
yellow means.
Yeah,
Oh, so it's a 97.
correct. It's a 97 round of 16.
All right. I'm just looking names here. We still didn't get the conference right.
Correct.
97. So we're looking Pac-12, EIWA, ACC. Who won Pac-12s? I mean, not Pac-12s, ACCs.
Just another manic Monday. I don't
Give
know.
me, give me Levi Hopkins.
Levi Hopkins. Wrong. But you got the senior right. You got 197 right. He didn't qualify, or he didn't finish. It's got to be like a round of 16 guy.
All right, we're going full PBs now because this is taking too long. This is the second poor performance in a row. It's Michael Beard. It's Michael Beard.
It's not Michael Beard.
Isn't that?
Nope.
Oh, his win percentage is way too high. I messed that up. Well, it has to be.
I'm pulling up the brackets now. I wasn't using PABs.
It's Munoz or Bronigal.
I like Munoz. Type it.
It's Munoz.
It's Munoz.
Another terrible, terrible performance.
This game makes you think, though.
It does, but there's a lot going on. We're live. We got stuff to talk about. There's big stuff on our minds. There's a lot of.
Let's start with the best news of the day, because I don't think it's going to get better than this. Amy Askren just put out an update that Ben Askren has received, not just gotten lungs, he's gone through the transplant. So Ben Askren has officially received his double lung transplant, which is a blessing. That is amazing news. Recovering from that is still not the easiest thing. Like, that is a massive, massive surgery, one of the hardest transplants out there. So continue to pray for Ben and his family, but that is unbelievable news.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Was that not quick? I mean, that went from, hey, we need double lung transplant and insurance isn't covering it, to, hey, we just got double lung transplant. I mean,
and I know
excellent news. I thought it was going to be prolonged and a pain in the butt and dicey, but they got it done. So happy for Ben.
And there's still a lot, like, the recovering from a double lung transplant is very serious. I had a friend who went through one, and it is nuts. But also, like, the financial side of this is apparently the insurance company is denying the transplant, which is bananas. So I know they're doing different kind of fundraisers. I've been trying to tweet them out and share them on Instagram. I know Rudis was doing a T-shirt one. There's a health fund specifically for that. So I'll continue to share those out. But there's a lot here to continue to pray for and to help where you can. But absolutely amazing news to start the week.
Yeah, I mean, just for it to have happened already. I thought it was going to be done in stages, like they have to find a donor. The donor has to be a match. Maybe he has one done. Maybe he has the second one done at a later time. And for it to, I mean, it's shocking to me how quick it came together. And, man, what a blessing. Obviously the road to recovery is going to be a long one, but he got it, and he's a fighter. And so, he's a little bit, wrestlers in general are a little bit built different, but Ben in particular is a tough SOB. And, they also say when you're on I think what they say is that when you're on a ventilator a long time, you also have a tracheotomy. I read that somewhere. I don't know if it's true, but that's another thing he might have to go through. But he got the lungs, and that, this gets to be political and stuff, but I never understood about the insurance stuff. And like, I had talked to Bader who's really tight with Ben, from back in their college days, and um, it sounded like they were doing a fundraiser. And my first thought at the time was like, I didn't need a fundraiser for you. Got insurance, right? Like, I don't know. But apparently, whatever insurance they have wasn't covering it, and I just don't understand. It makes you really angry that this guy needs a life saving procedure, not an optional procedure. It's not a nose job. It's not a elective. Like, this guy needs lungs, or he's going to die. And I don't know the details. I don't know what insurance company he has. I don't know why they didn't cover it. I don't know what, but anyway, he got the dang thing, and I believe in Ben. I believe he's
It's also
and will come back.
it's also bittersweet sometimes because a serious transplant like this, the person who gave the lungs, like, they died, and they're an organ donor, and they're saving Ben's life, and it's like that. It's one of those weird things about transplants like this. I've had friends who've gone through. One of my buddies has had 2 kidney transplants, and thankfully you have an extra one of those. You can give somebody a kidney if you want. Still not easy, but then you have something like this. It's very serious. So, all right. What do you want to talk about next, Willie?
Well, you really got to talk about the Aaron Brooks situation with his. It came out. I believe Minio was the first one to post it, that Aaron Brooks had popped, and there was speculation leading. I shouldn't say speculation. There were murmurs that somebody was going. There was bad news, more bad news coming for Penn State, and then Minio tweets that Aaron Brooks had a positive testing result, and not real long after it, like, I don't know, an hour. I don't know how long was it. It wasn't long, but Aaron Brooks himself posted that yes, he tested positive, and yes, it was this supplement, which he DHEA, which was in something he picked up at a grocery store. And so, it's more bad news for Penn State. It's been a rough PR stretch for them, and now this is something else they have to deal with. And you can debate the pros and cons. I mean, you can debate how serious this is, and on one side of the coin, this is Aaron Brooks' second issue with doping. The first one was Adderall, and you can debate how egregious that was. On one standpoint, it's a little bit of a red flag. On the other, from another perspective, it is legal. Adderall is legal if you have a doctor's note, but at the time, Aaron didn't provide that doctor's note, right? He didn't get. There's a thing called a therapeutic use exemption. So if I take Adderall or another substance, there's chemicals that are banned, substances that are banned, and then there's a shorter list of substances that you can use if you're being treated, you're diagnosed and being treated for something, and Adderall is one of them. So if Aaron Brooks would have had his doctor's note, would have applied for a therapeutic use exemption, and then tested positive for Adderall, it would have been no big deal. It would have been 0 strikes against him. But he tested positive for Adderall. It came back. He said, I have a therapeutic use diagnosis. They said, okay, where is it? And he said, here. So the first strike on Aaron was pretty much a procedural one. This one is not. And DHEA, again, you can make the case of on a continuum of how egregious something is. Some people would say it's like the most common thing people pop for. On another, on the other end of the spectrum is uh, it is a masking agent. It does raise testosterone levels, and so you know it runs the gamut. And you really have to. The bad news is the bad news is it's a second strike, and he's going to have to serve a suspension of some sort.
Yeah. So he had a surgery earlier this year, which kept him off the mat. Then he got double pneumonia, which kept him in the hospital for 4 or 5 days. And shortly after that, when he was getting a prescription for something for getting out of the hospital, that's when he was at Wegmans and picked something up off the shelf. All of his levels were low, and he was like just looking around at supplements and picked something up. And as soon as this news broke, like I called him. Aaron's a friend of mine. I'm like, tell me, what happened. And so he said, he like, listen, there's no excuse for it. Like he had a pretty big lapse in judgment of not doing his due diligence. And, you have the resources of, hey, coach, hey, whoever, should I take this? Like Bashada was telling me a great story of a NASCAR driver in 2010 who's like, I don't take as much as a Flintstone vitamin without getting it cleared by someone. And that was the big mistake here that he made. And so he popped like around mid-April, and he got notified on June 15th.
Okay, so therein lies a separate issue for me, and so let's put it in buckets. One, Aaron Brooks popped. Okay. I mean, another aspect of this is how the hell did Minio get it? And Aaron came right back 10 minutes later and confirmed it. There's one bucket that he popped, right? That's a story. And then there's this weird timeline of how it was presented. And then there's this other one of where the hell are these reports? Well,
do you want me to answer that?
Well, but that doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. We'll get to it. But that's a separate thing. Like, the details because you talked to Aaron Brooks. You know his side of the story. But what I'm saying is there's no actual report. There's no report from USADA on what he tested, popped for, or didn't pop for. There's no report from WADA. There's no report when it occurred. There's no report if this was a random drug test or at an event. There's no report on how long the suspension is. There's nothing. I mean, the only reason the world knows about it is because it leaked. And so, to me, it's wholly frustrating that you're left to speculate. You're left to speculate. And so, to me, that's a huge problem. And just amateur hour, But go ahead. So, except for this little bubble of Aaron Brooks and his camp. So Aaron Brooks gets sent a letter saying this stuff. But you would never know that because there's nothing disseminated. There's nothing on USADA's website. There's nothing on WADA's website. And the only way... What?
So you normally won't hear anything from USADA until a punishment and a suspension has been given.
That's a problem, in my opinion.
Oh, there's a lot of loose lips in this sport. I mean, that's nothing new.
No, that's my point. So, yeah, I know you talked to Aaron Brooks, but guess what? That shouldn't be... this news shouldn't come out, and further details shouldn't be garnered because you talked to the person in question. There should be a report.
Well, I don't know what the point of that was, but Yes, it leaked out, and now what normally happens is, so Aaron got notified middle of June. Hey, you popped for this, and
When was the test? When was the test?
mid-April, somewhere around there, and then he got notified mid-June that he failed for what he bought at Wegmans.
I thought it was
So
Easter. After Easter.
Easter's in April.
It was after Easter, though, correct?
I think it was around Easter. I don't know the exact date. It was around Easter. Negligible for this. So they told him around mid-June he popped. And now what they do is they ask for every ounce of information. So they ask for why did you take this? What's your purchase information? This, and this. Because a huge differentiating factor here is if you fail a drug test with the intent to gain a competitive edge, you're out for a quad. You're out for like 4 years. If you took something with no intent to gain a competitive edge, you're still going to face a suspension, but it's a year or two. And so that's where they're still figuring out. They're going through and they're trying to officially decide, was he trying to gain illegal competitive advantage, or was this a stupid mistake? He's still going to face a suspension, but there's a big difference between 1 to 2 years for without having an intent to gain competitive advantage and an intent to get competitive advantage, which you're out for 4 years. So you're not going to see a report from USADA until a decision is made. Normally this early in the process, it doesn't leak out. This time it did, but for the people asking, like, where's the USADA report? That's not going to come out until they say, hey, Aaron popped back in April for DHEA, and now he's suspended for a year or two, whatever. That's when you're going to see the report. Like, it's not because of anything other than that right now. So
No, I know that, but I hate it. I mean, you got an athlete confirming. You got an athlete telling you his side of the story. You got an athlete telling you what letter he received, but you don't have the report. It's a frustrating process from where I sit.
correct. And that's why it's like, anytime we saw it last week with the Carter stuff, like when something gets out there, whether it's legally, criminally, whatever, it's so tough to speculate on this stuff. And like, thankfully I have a relationship with Aaron.
Well, one time, there was a group of athletes, there was a group of wrestlers that went to, I believe it was Pan Am's. I believe it was Senior Pan Am's. I don't know the year. It was not long ago. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago. 3 years ago.
The meat thing?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
Actually, it was Nate. Was it Nate Jackson? Anyway, they went.
They were in like Brazil, I think.
It was Brazil. They went to Brazil for a Pan Am's, and afterwards they tested and they got these positive results back, and they were like, "Whoa, what? I take nothing. I'm very, And then another guy got it, and then a girl got it, and then a coach got it. Or let me backtrack. I don't know if a coach got it, but they traced it back to one dinner. They were like, you know who popped? Everybody who was at this dinner.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they were like, what the hell is going on? Were we drugged? Right? The only people that popped were these people that were they eventually traced it back to Brazilian beef. Brazilian beef had steroids in it, had these compounds in it.
They used steroids for the cows where they got the meat from. And so
Right.
the steroids went from the cow to the restaurant, and then basically everybody who got steak that night got tested.
Yeah. Now, I don't officially recall what they actually did to the guys that popped. I think they appealed it and got off, I think. But if I recall correctly, Nate Jackson did miss a little bit of time. But my point in all this is it would have been nice to read a report then. It would be nice to be educated. It would be nice to be abreast of the situation. And so, USADA and WADA have a lot of bases to cover, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I know, like, maybe their top priority is not sufficing the media, but the chain of events and their reporting leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate. When I talked to him, he wasn't making excuses. Like, he owned it. Like, there's accountability. Like, there's no excuse to not do due diligence with a supplement as a professional athlete, and he knows that. And he didn't make any excuses. He says he messed up. Sometimes athletes can be too independent. And
Corby's in the chat saying USADA isn't going to put the cart before the horse. No ruling yet on suspension. Listen, that's bullshit. I mean, I know they're not going to come out with, they're not going to determine a suspension yet, but they had the time and the information to send Aaron Brooks a letter, and Aaron Brooks posted on social media, not the letter, but the details of it. They issued that he popped. Post that on your site. Aaron Brooks. Positive test. This substance. It's not hard. It's a PDF.
I'm sure there's more to it than that.
Why?
Because there's due process. Like, you got to figure out what somebody popped for and why, in the background and history. Like,
they know it. They sent him a fucking letter.
Why do you get? Listen, for all the people who get mad when I yell at Willie, get them in the comments. Because, like, there's still, when you deal with medical stuff, like, you still have to do your due diligence on what happened. And there's a reason they say, hey, you popped for this, give us the reason, give us documentation, give us the purchase, like, give us everything. They're not going to release anything until they have the full story and the full information and make a ruling on a suspension. Not just because somebody fails it. They're not going to start doing press releases on the actual
I didn't say
results.
I didn't say a press release. I said posting. They post them. Okay. You want to disagree? Disagree.
I think they notified him. They're finishing up their findings and they're going to release it. I think that's the right way to do it.
That brings up, like, a sidebar in this. When I was talking about the different buckets of what goes into this story, is they sent Aaron Brooks a letter. Aaron Brooks tells A, B, and C. A, how does Minio find out? Why does AB post about it? I don't know. I don't know why they're making. I don't even know why they're making statements about it. How does it get out to the public? And why is AB even making statements about it at this point in time?
His attorneys want him to put something out. Well, listen, you're a professional athlete. You have partnerships. You're an Olympian. Like, there's more at stake. Sometimes attorneys say, don't say nothing. Other times attorneys say, hey, put out a statement. So they put out a simple statement. I respect Aaron. We were talking about it just before. I made the graphic for him with the statement. And I said, yeah, I think that's short and sweet and to the point. And you're getting ahead of it. And he owned it.
Yeah. I guess.
I mean, we can debate USADA protocol all you want. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, you're left in limbo, really.
Yeah.
All right. And that's that. I mean, the sad part is he. I mean, you talk about he has to send it. He has sent in the documentation. I bought it here. This was the bottle. This was a substance. This was a circumstance. I had pneumonia. I was trying to get right. He sent all that in. Do you think that it matters? Like, he's not going to avoid a suspension, is he?
No, I don't think he's going to avoid a suspension. You pop for a banned substance and you're going to face the consequences. The big thing here is whether or not they say you try to gain a competitive advantage illegally, or this was a mistake and you're still punished. But there's a big difference in an intent to gain a competitive advantage and,
Sure.
hey, you took something stupid. Even in training, in a year you're not competing, you shouldn't take it.
Well, how long? Like, I'm not saying the two are equitable, but like, and I wonder if I don't know the science behind it, man. I mean, I don't know if there was trace amounts. I don't know if it was sky high. I don't know, and I don't know if they take that into consideration. But like, what was like when Sha'Carri Richardson popped for weed before the Olympics? What was her suspension? Like, what I'm getting at is I don't. You keep talking about he wasn't using it to gain a competitive advantage, and you can debate. People at home can debate if he was using that for competitive advantage. But the point that Justin's making about competitive advantage, it does map with the fact that he wasn't competing. He wasn't competing, right?
Yeah,
so he was taking it.
And he has proof that he wasn't competing this year, and he had no plans to. Wasn't going to the Open, wasn't going to the World Team Trials, he was not competing this year after recovering from double pneumonia and the surgery earlier in the year. Like he was already out for the year.
And now, I mean, maybe it's a bad juxtaposition, or a bad example, but like I don't think Sha'Carri Richardson was smoking weed to like run faster.
And she only got like 1
anyway,
month,
it's like
2 months. It was something small.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it wasn't much. The other thing here too, like looking at the chat, somebody said, there's talks that can hide real stuff. Listen, first of all, you're tested after Final X. You're tested after the Olympics. You never failed anything for that. And if you are buying something to cover up something else, you're probably not picking it up at Wegmans after you get double pneumonia. Like, it's just not buying that one bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that he did or didn't do it to mask anything, but if you look up DHEA, one of the first things it says is it's a precursor to testosterone. It's often used as a masking agent. I mean, for the layperson, listen, I'm a layperson. I don't know about this stuff. Like, I don't know the chemistry of all this. But when you look that up and it says masking agent, it sort of jumps off the page at you, right? And so, I don't know. The bottom line is, he's probably looking at a suspension, and I hope. I mean, some people at home might be saying, "Oh, he's knowingly cheated," and I don't even care what the case is. I just hope he's back as soon as possible. He's going to face a suspension, and I hope it's a short one.
Yep. Agreed.
RAF. Does it impact him for RAF? I don't know. Like, I talked to John Brooks a couple days ago, like maybe the day before this came out, and I think, or 2 days. But John Brooks is involved with some of the RAF stuff, so I don't know. Obviously I'm involved with RAF. I would like Aaron to wrestle, but I don't know. He was set. He was set to wrestle. I can tell you that. I don't know. We have a meeting literally in 2.5 hours.
I thought you were going to Chicago this week, aren't you?
Yeah, I was supposed to go yesterday. I got to get there.
Like, you're supposed to go. Did you have a flight? Are you driving? When you were supposed to go yesterday?
No. I told Izzy I'd be there Sunday. I'm not. I'm obviously not there yet. I'll get there today or tomorrow.
All right, Husker Willie, what's next? We got Fargo 2 weeks from today, but we don't really have anything really to talk about yet.
I know they haven't started putting out rosters yet. I'm really looking forward to the 8th consecutive year where Oklahoma is the only one to not put out a roster. But I wish the Matt.com, we're damn near in July. I wish USA Wrestling would start putting rosters out. I can start building my sort of spreadsheets and contenders lists. It's a Super Bowl for me, you know. A lot of content leading up to it. But they haven't started coming out yet. And I'm like, and I really want to do this year, I really want to do what the seeds should be in advance. So we should get almost all. Now, last year, I believe the roster releases went really close to the start of Fargo. But I think what I'll do is like a running list of here's the entry so far, here's how it should be seated. And every day that they release a new batch of rosters, I'll update it so that you could see what my seeds would be in real time. And this is all to say that I'm scared to death of the pin system.
I saw that in the notes.
You know, they just they're really tough. They're really tough, and they make things wonky. And I think, you know, it sucks mostly for the kids. You know, last year, and they, you know, some people say, "Oh, Willie, well, you're biased, and you think that you're the best seeder, and you're just hating on it." Listen, no, that's not true. The proof's in the pudding. You can run all these algorithms and try to AI it as much as you want. You're going to not have. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I could be ranked number 1 in the country, and Justin, you could be ranked 110th in the pin system, and I injury default to you, and your ranking shoots sky high, and mine comes down a little bit. Right?
So is there's no seeds for Fargo? It's all just pin system?
What pin system is yeah, right, correct. So in other words, it doesn't take into a lot of account. And so last year I was complaining, and everybody was complaining. Everybody was complaining about the pin system. Everybody was complaining about the pin system in Fargo. Everybody was complaining about the pin system in Vegas. And so after Fargo, I put a little comparison side by side. And after Super 32, I put a comparison side by side. Here are the performance of seeds from Fargo. Here are the performance and seeds from two tournaments that I seeded. And there was no comparison. My seeds blew them away. The efficiency of my projections were vastly superior to the algorithms. And, you know.
Why do you think they don't want to seed it? Why do you think they only want to rely on the pin system for such an event like this?
Dude, I don't know. They invested money they invested money into some data solution. His name is the hell's his name? It's like a Joe Smith type name. God, Dave Matthews. His name's Dave Matthews.
The band.
And he's a really sharp guy. But there's always going to be problems with an algorithm system unless, I mean, I think you can make it better, but you have to put in the right inputs.
I was just going to say.
You have to account for things. I believe that an algorithm could come close to a human, but it's been over a year. They have more data. They have more tweaks. I mean, and that's another thing too, is that I don't think it takes into account results that aren't on Flow Arena or USA Bracketing. Does it take into account all tournaments or just what's in their system? There's obviously problems with what their inputs are and what they value.
Mm-hmm.
And so until that's rectified, until that's tweaked, it might be possible for them to come close, but not what they're doing now.
They really need to consult with you and say, how can we improve the algorithm? Because I know a lot of people in tech and AI, and there's a lot of amazing things happening, and you'd be surprised how far you can get with the right algorithm. That's the big thing. You got to factor in some of these things, and like you're saying, you already mentioned one potential tweak. Whereas if there's an injury default, omit it for rankings. Like there's little tweaks like that would go a long way, even without doing a major overhaul. Just like common sense equations.
Well, okay, I'll give you an example. The most glaring example, and this is sort of an outlier one. Somebody in the chat asked if like Phil Portuise, if Northeast Regionals, Northern Plains, do they count in it? Yep, they count in it. And I'll give you an outlier example. Like last year at the Cadet World Team Trials, the most important event of the year for that age group, it is the World Team Trials. At 65 kilograms, I believe it was 65 or 71. The number 1 and number 2 seeds in a bracket with Jaden James, the number 1 and number 2 seeds were from Alaska. They both promptly went 0-2. The kid from Alaska, the kid that was the 2 seed, went to Fargo and was the 2 or 3 seed there.
That's wild.
Wait, it gets better. He didn't place in Fargo. He went back to cadet trials this year, where he was the 2 seed again.
No.
I'm not making that up. And so that is the most egregious standout. Something isn't right with this procedure. And then and that's flashing neon lights. I think like anybody could pick up on that.
Hey, Willie.
But what you can't pick up on is there are a million examples of this kid's not seated and this kid's 11th.
Yeah.
And that happens everywhere.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question from the personal chat. I'm getting a text message. Dr. Matt McCutcheon in Arizona said, "Can you please ask Willie, if he is so good at predictions and seeding, why is he so bad at fantasy football? Thank you."
Well, I'm not bad at fantasy football. In fact, I believe in one league I outplaced Matt McCutcheon. We were in 2 leagues last year together. And number 2, really, I used to be a lot better in fantasy football. I admit the last I don't know 8 years I've been not great, and I attribute that a lot to freestyle. Listen, now is the time you should be really digging into fantasy football stuff, and I just don't have the time anymore with all the freestyle stuff that goes on. I don't do my research as much as I used to.
There you go, Dr. Matt. There's your answer.
And I still beat him in one league last year. So,
Matt, open invite. If you want the link to come on, Matt, the link is yours. Just let me know.
Yeah, come on here, Matt. Maybe you need to give me a back adjustment.
Dr. Matt is the best. If you're in Arizona, Bridge Wellness Center is the place to go, not just for chiropractic, but for wellness, decompression, red light, sauna, hot tub, cold plunge, all of it. Bridge Wellness Center, Arizona. Hey, Willie, do you want to talk at all? Last week you released your final high school rankings update before Fargo. The seniors are out. There's some news and nuggets to take away. Do you want to quickly go through your latest top 10?
Well, in pound for pound, I have it, and this hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. This hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot over the past 3 months since seniors were taken out. But my pound for pound is Jax Forrest, Bo Bassett, Dre Sean, Melvin Miller, Jaden James. And That is a pound for pound, and then the Rainies, and that is a pound for pound based on wins and loss ledgers. That's not big boards. Big boards where I have the leniency to say I don't care if the guy's 0-10. I think he's a better prospect than prospect B.
Do
This
you
is strictly on ledger and what your big wins are and what your
do you factor in
losses are.
freestyle to this, like Jack
Absolutely.
Forrest? So this is all encompassing, not just high school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you didn't factor in, first of all, I think freestyle is proven to translate. Um, it has proven that it should be a factor. Second of all, um, if you like, let's take an example like it often comes into play with kids from, let's say, weird states, right? If let's go back to like Brock Hardy and Ridge Lovett and like back when I don't know, maybe Joey Silva or like even okay, let's say Bo Nickel. Um, if you didn't factor in freestyle, there'd only be like one tournament in folk style for some of these kids to have any data on, right? Like Rich Lovett didn't wrestle anybody in folk style in high school, but he won Fargo. He made the Fargo finals like 8 times. You know what I mean? And so if you didn't count freestyle, it'd be like you're lying to yourself.
Jeff G in the chat wants to know, why did James drop below Ross?
In what I never had Jaden James ahead of Drayshawn Ross in pound for pound.
Corby saying James will be the best in the class.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I mean,
Kind of crazy too. Like when I look at the pound for pound, it's wild. The 3 of the top 4 are Bishop McCourt, and then also sticking out is that 4 of the top 7
did you see?
Oklahoma
Did you
State.
see what? Did you see what Mark Hall said yesterday on Twitter?
Was the greatest rebuttal.
Somebody, so Basch put out a graphic that like 3 of the top 4 in pound for pound were Bishop McCourt kids, and somebody replied, kind of like what Apple Valley produced. And I said, produced or flew in? And Mark Hall replied and said, we drove. But it was funny. Apple Valley back in the day had a phenomenal team that featured. I mean, everybody remembers the Mark Halls and the Gable Stevensons, but their whole lineup. Seth Gross was on that team. Their whole lineup with guys that you don't know, they were all state champs and Fargo placers. Stephen Keogh and I don't know. There's too many to even remember. Guys that did not go on to be superstars, but in high school certainly were. They were state champs and Fargo placers and everything else.
How good is Apple Valley now, by the way?
But there was a saying back then. Apple Valley stands for Alaska to Virginia. Because they had like a kid was a 3-time Alaska state champ. He transferred to Apple Valley as a senior from Alaska to Minnesota. Mason Manville was on that team. He was from Virginia, and so the saying was Apple Valley, Alaska to Virginia. And McCourt not quite as bad, but still like Jax is from North Carolina. Seamus Regan's from South Carolina. Sam Herring's from Tennessee. They're heavyweights from Florida. So a lot of transfers there too. And don't get me started on PIAA. They make 0 cents.
And then it's kind of crazy with the Bo Bassett decommitment. 3 of the top
Matty
10.
Lopes, I love you, buddy.
3 of the top 10 are not committed right now.
3 of the top 10 is not committed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen. These people know their high school history. Destin McCulley, Matt Mincy, Dakota Trom. Yep. Yep. So
Jason Bryant just fact checked you. Sam actually lived in Mississippi.
I thought he was going to school in Tennessee. I don't know. Whatever. He's not from Pennsylvania, that's for sure. But such is life, and such is high school wrestling. What else, pal? What else is pop?
Well, that's I see what you did there.
Oh, I really didn't even mean that. I didn't even mean pop. I didn't even really mean pop.
Hey, you know what show we need to do soon? I don't know about you, but like this offseason's been so crazy that
Corby, was that announced? Was that just announced? Corby in the chat said Iowa State for Merrill. I mean, that's been the rumor for quite some time that Kobe Merrill, the brother of Cody Merrill, was looking hard at Iowa State. I don't know if Corby in the chat meant that was just announced. That's 6 a.m. in California.
I think, can we have a sign or something at the beginning of the episode that you put up when the show actually starts so I don't skip past more than just the games at the beginning? We'll see what we can do for you.
Yeah, that's going to be a no. We're going to go no on that.
We need to. So, by the way, also, I want you guys to comment. Like, there's been a lot of news lately, so it's kept these shows going. But there is less and less to talk about in like late June, July, August. We want to cover some topics, random topics. I don't care if it's Apple Valley versus Bishop McCourt, hypothetical dual meet. Maybe it's we do a recap on all the transfers that took place. Because there's a lot of transfers. Like, I love every year, Part of My Take does a show like just before preseason, and it's like name that transfer, and they're trying to remember like where different guys went. We should do a transfer recap show because there's been so many transfers these past couple of months. So that's a show.
Well, I'm getting ready to do Crystal Ball, and we can talk about that on the next show. But that's a disaster. There's like 4,000 kids you got to change the name to or the school for, and
when will Crystal Ball be done? Can we get that this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get it. I'm gonna try to get it done, the next day or so.
A Friday live show for Crystal Ball would be a fun one.
Yeah, let's see if we can do that. Although, is Friday 4th of July?
Oh, yeah, no show Friday.
Izzy told me for 4th of July he's getting a mariachi band.
You said that I think you said that on the show last time. If not, you told me after.
I think I did too.
Well, we'll either do a show Thursday or after the 4th of July weekend on Monday. We'll do a Crystal Ball show. But other topics that you guys are interested in, comment, tweet us. I think a show recapping like all the transfers would be cool because there's just been every time I like randomly see somebody training somewhere on Instagram, I'm kind of reminded like, oh yeah, that guy went there. And now they've all kind of moved. So, like, you'll see Dean Peterson in Iowa. You'll see Rocky Elam in Iowa State. Like, you'll see these guys where they announce their transfer to. So, I think we need to do a show on that.
Yeah. Corby's currently in a heated exchange on Hawkeye Report, or the old Hawkeye Report. It's called Hawkeye Beacon now, but the Hawkeye fans really want, like, they're really blaming wrestling journalists for not digging deeper into these incidents at Penn State. And it evolved into a question that he put in the chat just now is, like, talk about wrestling journalists being investigative journalists. And it's just not built that way. Like, wrestling journalists, I mean, frankly, there's not enough like salacious stories to keep an investigative journalist on staff. You're not going to keep an investigative journalist on staff for the one time a year that some that you need to employ them for. And you're also not going to get anybody to talk that doesn't want to talk, and you're not going to start hunting down anonymous sources. So
By the way, if
you
somebody
can.
wants to go be an
The
investigative
Iowa fans
journalist, go
would
do
be
it.
mad. What's that?
If somebody wants investigative journalism, go be it. Go do it. Nothing stops you in this society.
Yeah, you want to do it, do it. I mean, what the real impetus behind that is that they want all the wrestling journalists to talk more. They want more bad press for Penn State, is what it all boils down to. They want the wrestling journalists to put out bad. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. And I'm not afraid to. I don't think anybody's afraid to put out bad stuff, but it's not been determined yet. It's not been determined yet by any law enforcement or whatever. There's no police report. The only thing that was police reported is the alleged theft, which came back inconclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Palacio coming on the show. I hear he's not coming on this one. Listen, I'm not afraid of Dylan Palacio, but at the same time, I'm not going to open the discussion. Hey, okay, this is alleged to go on at Penn State. Let's open the discussion with Dylan Palacio's thoughts. No, he's a loose cannon that's just going to come in, and I'll do a show with him, but not the first show. Let's do a show, Dylan. We'll talk. You'll say all the things you hate about Penn State. You'll probably allude to everything that's been alleged and speculate your brains out. And really, really, what gets me is, and it's not just Dylan. It's, largely everybody that hates Penn State and wants bad press for Penn State. You're all about due process. You all scream due process until you don't want it because you want salaciousness out on this other program, and you want to speculate. All this circumstantial stuff. So make up your minds. You want due process, or do you not?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like to feed into. I got some hate over the weekend over the people that didn't like me keeping my comments on the Carter stuff to a minimum. And if you click through the majority of their profiles, it's just mostly nasty people. They're angry. They're bitter. They want to assume the worst, and everybody's convicted upon allegations. It's crazy.
Listen, if there's wrongdoing, it will come out, and we'll talk about it at that time. But then another thing that they get twisted is well, you talked about the Bo Bassett stuff. The hell does that have to do with anything? I'm getting yelled at on the Iowa message boards. Well, you talked about the Bo Bassett stuff. Well, you talked about the offers that were thrown around to portal guys that went to Iowa. They were not allegations of criminal activity. What don't you get? What doesn't map there? And they were also, the Bo Bassett thing wasn't speculative. Bo Bassett put out, he decommitted. So, the bottom line is they want bad Penn State press, and they want it now.
Yeah. Are you getting lost in the chat?
Yeah, college football. Now, I'm honestly not sure why you wrestling heads are hesitant to speak on all things happening at PSU. We did.
That's what I
We
said.
did, and
We've literally talked about
we,
everything.
we did, and we did it, and we talked about it more than any other show and any other wrestling journalist in the game. So what are you talking about? Number one. Number two, Bo Bartlett isn't the type. I am not going to speak on legal matters because Bo Bartlett isn't the type. I agree with you that Bo Bartlett, up until this point, has not been the type. But I'm not going to speak as if things are facts because Bo Bartlett isn't the type. Use your brain.
All right, Willie. Anything else?
No, I got to book a lot of flights. I got to book.
I will say college football nut. We only got like 9 Saturdays left until college football returns, and I cannot wait. It is that time of year I start itching for college football.
Hey, you know what we got to talk about in one of these upcoming shows is the changing landscape of NIL and rev share and the amount of money that these kids were getting and that they will not be getting going forward.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that.
There were massive bags of cash being handed out. There were massive offers. That's not going to be the case going forward. We saw in the past that some schools were reaching out to very good established talent and saying, if you get in the portal, we have this amount of money for you. And while that may, and so let's say, like, for the sake of argument, Ja'Cory Teamer really didn't have any. Ja'Cory Teamer wasn't looking around. Stephen Buchanan wasn't looking around. But they were contacted and they were dangled a big sum of money. And so they did that, right? Okay. With the rules that are coming, with the policies that are coming up, that still might happen, but that number attached to it will not be as big. It can't be as big. And that's going to shift. That's going to change a lot of things.
Yeah. No, we should definitely do a show about the house settlement and NIL and the landscape changing. It's going to be very curious next year, the transfer portal and how, the similarities and differences to this year.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it's a good thing. I'm still a little dubious, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that the bags of cash, the amount that they can offer, I hope it goes way down. And some of the more liberal people might say, why would you wish that college wrestlers got paid less? They can still make their money through legitimate NIL deals. What they can't do is just pay for play. And I don't necessarily want to see the kids get paid less. But what I want to see is a more level playing field, because if not, you're going to have 4 teams and everybody's going to be left in the dust.
And Patrick in the chat just said, can they use rev sharing to throw out big bags? You can use rev share to throw out bags, but it's not going to be big bags when it goes through the university and through the team. You can't issue one guy a massive bag and have another guy on the team look at that and see that. It's very different than what we're seeing, where it's more like boosters and private donors wanting to pay a bag for somebody to come to the university. When that all goes through the university, it's going to look very different.
Well, there's some schools that have already allotted the rev share that they can get. I believe Iowa State's $1 million. I believe Iowa is $750,000. There were rumors that Penn State said that they don't want it. They just want more scholarships. The word is that Arizona State is in the same boat, where I don't think they're getting necessarily rev share. If they do get rev share, it'll be minimal, and that Arizona State's getting extra scholarships. And so what seems to be coming is that the offers will by necessity be lower. Like they cannot be what we have seen thus far.
Yeah.
All right. That's a show. Go Bills. I'm going to Wegmans. Bulk up. I'm kidding, AB. I love you, kid.
Oh, man.
Go Bills.
All right. That's a show. Go Bills. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And shout out everybody who I caught some heat over the weekend because some mean, nasty people don't like my take, but there was a lot of people giving me a lot of love, and they love the show, and they support it. So I'm
well, I thought you
had
had a really good response. And you know, to some of them, I see their point in that you're a Penn State guy and you make no bones about it, and you don't love covering the bad news. But again, me and you covered the bad news more than anybody else. But I thought your response in that you didn't do it with Dayton. You offered him to come on the show. You didn't do it with Wrestler X. You offered him to come on the show. That was an excellent response.
Yeah. I saw some of that. Like, oh, this would be so different if it wasn't Penn State. And it's like, well, my track record over the past 5-6 years begs to differ because there's a history of guys who have gone through stuff personally off the mat, whether it's drug tests, whatever. And I had them on the podcast. I didn't bury them. I have no desire to do that, let alone to a friend. So, all right, guys.
Listen, there's stories. There's stories of. There's other not so good stories that are boiling in the pot right now. We're not talking about them out of turn. We're not talking about them out of turn, and they have nothing to do with Penn State. So it's not a Penn State thing.
Do good. God bless. Go Bills.
Go Bills.